Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we serve up fresh HOA Karen drama with a side of justice porn that'll make you laugh while your blood boils. You ever watch someone get absolutely wrecked by their own petty little throne of power? Buckle up, because today we're diving into the story of Mara Donovan, a woman who thought burying her mom was the worst day of her life until a local HOA president decided to turn grief into a profit scheme. Picture this: Evergreen Meadows, one of those picture-perfect suburbs outside Dallas where every lawn is mowed to military precision, every mailbox matches the approved beige, and the air smells like fresh-cut grass mixed with quiet desperation. It's the kind of place where people move for community, but really just want to pretend they're living in a Pinterest board. Mara had just turned 38, a sharp numbers woman who'd built a solid career in finance, but right now she was standing at the front of a small stone church, gripping the lectern like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her mom, Eleanor Donovan, had passed after a long illness. The service was quiet, rain tapping against the stained glass windows like it was trying to wash away the ugliness. Mara delivered the eulogy, painting her mom as the gentle gardener who loved life, even though the truth was messy. The front pew on the family side sat empty. No dad. Late entrance. Just one word texted from Paris: busy with his mistress. Mara laughed, a brittle, horrifying sound that echoed off the stone walls. The kind of laugh that says, "I'm done pretending," after everyone filed out with their casseroles and pity smiles. Aunt Carol pulled Mara aside. "He's in Europe with Clara Reese, honey. The new PR director at his old company." Mara's response was ice cold. Of course he is. She didn't cry in public. She saved that for later, alone in her mom's empty house in Evergreen Meadows, the house she inherited, the house that was supposed to be her sanctuary. But Evergreen Meadows had a queen. Her name was Karen Whitaker, president of the HOA board for the last 8 years. Picture her late 50s, built like a refrigerator in a designer pantsuit, face permanently set in a sour lemon scowl that screamed, "I own this neighborhood." Fake pearls, bright coral lipstick that never quite stayed in the lines, and a clipboard that might as well have been a scepter. Karen loved rules. She loved finding people even more. And she especially loved pretending it was all for the greater good of the community. The very next morning, while Mara was still in yesterday's black dress unpacking her mom's things, there was a sharp knock at the door. Karen stood there, clipboard in hand, fake smile stretched across her face like plastic wrap. "Mara dear, so sorry for your loss. But we do have standards." Wild? It's a violation. Weeds over 2 inches. Front porch flowers not in approved colors. And the flag? Oh honey, that little memorial flag? Not regulation size. You've got 48 hours or it's $250 per day. Mara blinked, grief still raw. "My mom just died." Karen's laugh was syrupy. The board voted unanimously. "We can't have the neighborhood looking unkempt." She leaned in, voice dropping like she was sharing gossip. "Wouldn't want people thinking you're letting things slide, would we?" Mara paid the first fine. She trimmed the garden herself at midnight, crying the whole time, because that garden was the last thing her mom had loved. But the fines kept coming. $. Mailbox decal slightly faded, $75. A single black ribbon on the door for mourning, deemed unsightly political statement, $300. The neighborhood watched. Most just nodded along because nobody wanted Karen's clipboard pointed at them. That's the beauty of HOA Karen power, folks. Petty tyrants with clipboards who turn neighbors into snitches. Mara stayed quiet. She nodded, paid, fixed what she could. But inside, something was shifting. She remembered her mom's last words in the hospital. "Don't let them take what's yours, baby." Not the house. One night, while sorting through her mom's closet, Mara found a box. Dark cherry wood, hidden behind old winter coats. Inside, a photo album of happier days at the house, then bank statements, wire transfers, photos. Turns out her mom hadn't just been gardening. She'd been documenting. Karen Whitaker had been siphoning HOA dues into a consulting firm run by her boyfriend, a shady contractor who did all the neighborhood improvements at triple the market rate. Kickbacks. Even photos of Karen and a contractor getting cozy at a board retreat that looked a lot more like a weekend in a luxury cabin. Mara sat there under the kitchen light, rain pattering outside again, and felt the numbness harden into something cold and sharp. She didn't scream. She just started taking pictures of everything with her phone, backing it up to a cloud only she could access. "You want rules, Karen," she whispered to the empty room. "Let's play by them." The escalation began slow. Karen started leaving bright yellow violation notices on Mara's door like it was her full-time job. Unapproved memorial bench in the backyard, $500. Grass height measured at 2.7 inches, $250. One day, Karen even showed up with 2 board members and a measuring tape while Mara was trying to plant flowers in her mom's memory. "This is harassment," Mara said quietly. Karen smiled that ugly smile. "This is enforcement, dear." Mara smiled back for the first time. "I know exactly what you're protecting. Let's fast forward 2 weeks, because watching Karen's ego inflate is only fun for so long before you want to see it pop." Mara had gone full ghost mode, polite nods at neighborhood meetings, paying every ridiculous fine without complaint. Karen loved it. She strutted around like she'd broken another problem homeowner. At the monthly HOA meeting in the community clubhouse, think beige folding chairs and free coffee that tasted like regret, Karen stood at the podium in her brightest power suit, pearls gleaming under fluorescent lights. "Folks, we have to stay vigilant. Some residents seem to think rules don't apply when they're grieving. But grief isn't an excuse for neglect." She looked straight at Mara in the back row. The room shifted uncomfortably. A few people muttered agreement because, hey, better her than me. Mara didn't flinch, cataloging every lie. Her mom's box had grown into a full digital folder, screenshots of Karen's personal Venmo payments from the HOA account labeled landscaping bonus, emails where Karen approved her boyfriend's overpriced contracts without bids, even security cam footage from the clubhouse showing Karen slipping cash envelopes into her purse after board votes. The dark humor of it all? Karen genuinely believed she was untouchable. She'd been president so long she thought the neighborhood was her personal fiefdom. She'd even started wearing a little gold pin that said HOA Guardian. Guardian of what? Her own wallet. Mara started small. Committee under a fake name on the sign-up sheet. She attended every virtual board call, recording every word. She made friends with a quiet older couple across the street who hated Karen as much as everyone else but were too scared to speak up. "She found us for a holiday wreath last Christmas," the wife whispered over coffee. Said the red was too bright. One evening, Mara drove to the county records office, 3 hours round trip, just to pull every public HOA filing for the last 5 years. Turns out Karen had quietly changed the bylaws, so she personally approved all emergency expenditures. And guess what counted as emergency? Fixing her own pool using neighborhood funds. Back home, Mara sat at her mom's old writing desk, laptop glowing blue on her face. She wasn't raging. Better than Karen's ill-fitting Spanx. Every fine Karen slapped on her became another exhibit of harassment intended to force sale so boyfriend's company could flip the property. The twist you didn't see coming. Mara's mom had been planning this war before she died. The box wasn't just evidence. It had a business card from a forensic accountant who specialized in HOA fraud. A handwritten note, "If anything happens to me, give this to Mara. She'll know what to do." Eleanor Donovan had been quietly gathering proof for months, even while sick, because she knew Karen was bleeding the neighborhood dry. Mara made the call the next morning. Jonathan Mills answered on the second ring. "Your mother was one of the bravest clients I ever had," he said. "She wanted the truth to come out, but she wanted you safe first." From there, the plan clicked into place like a loaded magazine. Mara stopped paying the newest batch of fines. Karen's response was predictable. Certified letter threatening lien on the house. "Pay up or we'll foreclose for the protection of the community." Mara read the letter aloud to her empty living room and laughed that same brittle laugh from the funeral. "You're about to learn what foreclosure really looks like, Karen. Now the pressure really starts to build, and this is where the koi trong to you see kicks in hard." Karen, drunk on her own tiny bit of power, escalated like a kid with a new toy. She organized a neighborhood beautification walk that just so happened to end at Mara's house. 20 residents in matching green vests, Karen at the front with her megaphone and measuring tape. See, everyone. This is what happens when we let standards slip. Mara stood on her porch, arms crossed, wearing the same black dress from the funeral like armor. Funny how your boyfriend's company got the contract to fix all these violations, she said loud enough for phones to start recording. Karen's face went the color of cheap lipstick. That's a baseless accusation, but the videos hit the neighborhood Facebook group that night. Comments exploded. Contractor who did Karen's new deck? My dues went up 30% last year, and the pool still looks like a swamp. Karen tried damage control the only way she knew how, more fines. She sent Mara a $2,500 bill for repeated, willful violations and emotional distress to the board. Emotional distress? From Karen Whitaker, for flying an American flag on the wrong pole. Mara didn't fight in public yet. Karen digged the hole deeper. She met Jonathan Mills in a coffee shop far outside the neighborhood. He slid a thick folder across the table. Your mother had everything. Even audio from a board meeting where Karen bragged about creative accounting. Mara drove home that night with the folder on the passenger seat like a passenger. The radio played some old country song about karma, and for the first time since the funeral, she smiled for real. The next HOA meeting was the turning point. Karen stood up, all puffed up in her coral suit, announcing a special assessment to cover legal fees from problem residents. Mara raised her hand from the back. Question. Include the $47,000 you transferred to your boyfriend's LLC last quarter. Dead silence. Karen stammered. Business. Mara just held up her phone. I have the receipts. All of them. The room erupted, banging her gavel like it was a judge's hammer. This meeting is adjourned, but the damage was done. Things moved fast after that meeting. The county attorney's office got an anonymous tip, complete with every document Mara's mom had saved. Investigators showed up at Karen's McMansion the next week with warrants. Turns out the consulting fees weren't just embezzlement. They crossed into straight-up fraud. Karen, of course, played the victim card on the local news. I dedicated my life to this community, she sobbed to the camera, mascara running like cheap paint. The reporter asked about the luxury vacations funded by dues. Karen's answer. Those were working trips. Mara watched the clip from her kitchen, sipping coffee, and felt the first real wave of satisfaction. But she wasn't done. It's the entire board for selective enforcement and harassment. Jonathan Mills handled the paperwork. The lawsuit included every fine, every threatening letter, and the emotional distress Karen loved throwing around. Only this time it was Mara's distress, backed by medical records from the grief counselor she'd finally seen. The neighborhood turned. Along at Karen's meeting started leaving one-star reviews on the HOA website. Someone even started a GoFundMe to help Mara fight the fines. The dark comedy peak, Karen's boyfriend, the contractor, dumped her publicly on Facebook when the feds started asking him questions. I didn't know she was doing anything illegal. Sure, buddy. Karen's response was classic. She doubled down. She sent Mara one last certified letter threatening to sue her for defamation. Mara read it, scanned it, and added it to the growing pile of evidence. Then she did something that would have made her mom proud. She sent Karen a single text. You wanted my attention. The board called an emergency meeting to address the situation. Mara showed up with Jonathan and a stack of color-coded binders. She didn't yell. She simply laid out the facts in that calm finance nerd voice that made numbers sound like weapons. According to the bylaws you all love so much, any board member found misusing funds must be removed immediately. Shall we vote? 3 board members resigned on the spot. Karen sat there, face redder than her lipstick, clutching her pearls like they could save her. The climax hit like a perfectly timed fine in the mail. The county prosecutor held a press conference. Karen Whitaker was being charged with embezzlement, fraud, and misuse of public funds. The amount, over $180,000 in 3 years. The news vans parked outside her house for days. Neighbors who once feared her now stood on their lawns holding signs that read, Karen. Mara watched from her porch as the sheriff's deputies escorted Karen out in handcuffs, still wearing one of those ridiculous power suits, hair a mess, yelling about how this was all a witch hunt. The dark humor of it. The handcuffs were the only thing in the neighborhood that actually matched HOA color standards. In court, Karen's defense was pathetic. I was only trying to keep property values high. The judge wasn't impressed. Mara testified, quiet, composed, devastating. She showed the jury the first violation notice that arrived the day after her mom's funeral. She showed the box her mom left behind. She didn't have to raise her voice. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. And ordered to pay full restitution, plus every fine she'd ever slapped on Mara with interest. The board was dissolved and a new one elected with actual normal people who just wanted decent lawns and no drama. Mara stood on the courthouse steps afterward, sunlight hitting her face for the first time in months. The house was safe, and wild and imperfect, and exactly how her mom would have wanted it. The final chapter is quiet, the way real justice often is. Karen's name was wiped from every HOA record. Her house went into foreclosure. Poetic, right? The neighborhood slowly started breathing again. People put up whatever flags they wanted. Gardens got a little messy, without a $100 ticket. Mara sold the house, not because she had to, but because it was time. She kept the garden bench as a reminder. She drove away one last time, windows down, radio playing something soft. In the rearview mirror, evergreen meadows looked smaller, almost harmless. She thought about her mom's note one last time. Truth always floats. It had. And it had taken Karen's whole empire down with it. So here's the thing, guys. Funny memes. They're real people who turn tiny bits of power into weapons because deep down they're terrified of anyone seeing them as small. But when someone finally pushes back with patience, proof, and zero emotion, just cold, clean truth, they fold like cheap lawn chairs. Mara didn't need revenge. And the truth, like her mom said, always floats. Thanks for sticking with this one. Drop a comment if you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare. Let's hear your stories. If this gave you that sweet justice buzz, smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep your lawns however the hell you want them.